All right. Okay. So welcome everybody. My name's Maya Schonbach. I'm a clinical psychologist and the clinical program director here at SkinPick and at TrickStop. And today we're going to be doing a workshop on building a behavioral toolkit for your BFRB urges. And really, we're going to be talking about some hands-on techniques, and we're going to practice some together on Zoom. And I first of all really want to encourage you guys to ask questions, share your thoughts, share how it's feeling for you. You can write them on any comments or questions into the chat, and we'll do a Q&A at the end of the webinar. And today's webinar is probably about 30-40 minutes, and then we'll have a time for a Q&A at the end. So let's get started. All right, so this webinar today, it's a little different from our typical content webinars, because we're going to be doing, like I said, hands-on practice together. And first, we'll cover a little bit of theory, why specifically behavioral tools. We'll cover a little bit about the background behind skin picking and hair pulling loops and the behavioral aspect. And then we're going to focus really on these three areas: the competing responses, sensory substitutions, and body-based grounding. Those three areas of techniques. And like I said, really today is all about action-based strategies. So things that you can physically do when you have an urge that arises. Things that you can either physically do to keep your hands busy or to redirect your energy when you have that urge. And yeah, today is really for anyone that struggles with skin picking or hair pulling urges. It doesn't need any prerequisites, not any therapy experience or anything, just really a feeling of curiosity and a sense of willingness to try new things and experimenting and being open. So let's start with why a behavioral toolkit. So urges to pick or to pull can show up in different ways. So you might feel something physically, a physical sensation in your fingers. It might be emotional. That's something that common for a lot of clients. They say that it's triggered by a feeling of anxiety. Another emotion is boredom that causes the urge to pick or to pull. And some feel it out of an urge out of a sensory need. So maybe the need to feel a specific texture, to feel something on your fingertips. So really, no matter how your specific urge shows up, typically the urge is really powerful, and sometimes it can feel almost even automatic. And so why behavioral? So behavioral tools really work well because they really satisfy the urge or redirect the urge into something else. It really gives you something else to do, if we're saying it very practically. And what we like to say is to give you a range of go-to strategies that you'll have ready. So ones that you can have that'll meet your sensory needs, that'll help you with your emotion regulation, maybe keep your hands busy if it's for something physical. And then really you'll be less likely to fall into your picking and pulling loop. And so research into HRT, which is habit reversal training, and COMB, which is the comprehensive behavioral treatment, which are the gold standards for treating skin picking and hair pulling. They really show that having a personalized set of strategies really increases the chance of success at managing skin picking and hair pulling. So an analogy that I really like to use is think of carrying an umbrella with a storm. So you're not going to wait for the storm to happen. If you hear that there might be some rain today, you're not going to wait for the storm to happen to start to look for your umbrella. You're going to put it in your bag and you're going to carry it with you throughout the day. And it's the same thing with behavioral strategies for picking and pulling. We're gonna want to learn them before the urges arrive. So if you know you might have an urge, you're going to want to prepare your strategies, kind of like have them. You could even physically have them in your bag with you, so that you have them if just in case you need them, because it really is going to increase your chance of success. Okay. So let's briefly review the habit loop, or the picking and pulling loop. So yeah, maybe some people are already aware of this, but it's always good to review. So typically the loop starts with a trigger. Now triggers are very individual and they change between situations also. So first there's a trigger, and that triggers the urge to pick or pull, and then you typically will do the behavior of the picking or pulling. You'll feel a very brief sense of relief because you've done the behavior, so it satisfies this urge. And the issue here is that this relief actually reinforces this whole loop, and it happens again and again and again. So our goal today really is to kind of interrupt this urge behavior step. But you see the little lightning bolt. So we want to interrupt this step with some hands-on alternatives. So something really important here, and something that I want to stress throughout the presentation, really is that this loop happens so frequently in our brains and that it feels automatic, that you have the urge and you will almost split second go to the behavior. And that is something happens because it's practiced so many times. And our goal here is to learn different alternatives. But these things need to be practiced again and again and again in order to be able to almost compete with this practice that we've been doing here. So if we have this urge and then the behavior, we're going to try and interrupt it in the middle. So let's start just covering over these three different types of behavioral tools. So we're going to talk today about competing responses. So these really are actions that use the same muscle groups as picking or pulling. And they're meant to kind of physically block or compete with the behavior. Then we're going to talk also about sensory substitutions. So these are techniques that'll satisfy the sensory craving that you might have, but in a non-harmful way. So again, like if you're craving a texture or pressure or something like that, then it can satisfy that urge or redirect it. And finally, we'll talk about some body-based grounding techniques. And those are really good to help you regulate your nervous system, bring you kind of back into your body, calm or regulate your fight or flight response if you've heard about that. And again, I really want to emphasize the fact that everyone's needs are different. What works for one person may not work for another person. And that's really why we're going to talk about and we're going to try several different techniques today. And I want you to see what works best for you. And again, it might work well for you in one situation and not in another, just like it might work well for one person and not another. So the goal today is really about experimenting. Okay, so now let's talk about some competing responses. So competing responses, they really are a core part of HRT, of habit reversal training. Like I said, it's considered the gold standard of treatment for picking and pulling, skin picking and hair pulling disorder. And that's really what we use, one of the main techniques that we use here at Skin Pick and Trick Stop. And so let's dive into some examples. So, like I said, competing responses are physical actions that block or replace the picking or pulling urge. Um, the idea is really to choose a movement that competes with the behavior that you're trying to interrupt. So instead of engaging in your picking or pulling. So something that you might have heard of is called the opposite rule. So some therapists like to recommend doing an action that feels opposite to the picking or the pulling. So say you're typically picking or pulling at your face or at your head. They might suggest doing a competing response. For example, holding onto the bottom of your shirt or sitting on your hands. Something that's kind of opposite. Instead of going up, you go down. Uh, I actually like to say not to get stuck in the opposite rule. I think the most important thing is something that you pick for yourself that is easy, discreet, and accessible. These three things are very, very key. Really, you want something that's simple enough, easy enough to use consistently. You want to be able to use it again, like I said, again and again and again. We need to practice these things because picking and pulling have been so practiced in our brains. So we really want to have this competing response to be very easy to do so that your brain is like, oh, instead of picking, I'm going to just go and do this other, we'll talk about some options soon, to do this other action. Discreet, we want to do something that's subtle enough that you can use it in a wide range of situations. You don't want to just be able to use it at home. You want to maybe be able to use it while you're at work, while you're at school, while you're on public transportation, um, something that's available for you. And then accessible, something that's effective enough also, that really is able to give you some relief or help you really redirect your energy. And something that I really want to emphasize here is the key is to pick one or two to start out with and to practice them. We really don't want to overload yourself with too many options. So that's something important to keep in mind here. And also, it's really important that you yourself choose the competing response. If we don't want it to be that somebody's telling you to do it. So, for example, if you're working with a therapist here at Skin Pick or Trick Stop, we're not going to say, "Okay, Sarah, now we want you to work with a competing response of using a stress ball." No, it's important that you yourself pick what works for you and your own lifestyle. You know yourself the best. You know what's going to feel the best for you. Um, and that's really important. And then also to just be aware that, yeah, it's not going to happen every time. Like we said already, this habit loop is already practiced so many times that it's going to happen. You're going to fall into picking and pulling, and that's okay. Learning a new skill takes time, and it does take trial and error. So it's really important to track what works and to adjust as you're needed, as needed. And if you use the program of Skin Pick and Trick Stop, we actually have tools either in our app or on the website, depending on what you use, that help you really keep track of what's working and in what situations. And then it's really helpful for you and your therapist to go over them together and then to see and fine tune it together. So yeah, so really we want to find something that's reliable, something that's yeah, a competing response that's reliable to use when an urge hits. Okay, so these are just some examples of sensory tools that you can use for your hands. These are types of examples of competing responses. So common ones are fidget rings or spinners, like I have here in the picture. A stress ball, very common is people report picking or pulling while they're working on their computers. So something we often like to say is to try just even taking a stress ball and putting it just next to your computer, next to your laptop. And then it's there for you to use. And while you're not typing, you could have it right next to you. And then you can go to that instead of picking or pulling. So that's a very simple competing response. A worry stone, just having a small, smooth stone. People have reported just that having it in your pocket It's something really good to have. You can take it with you. You can use it while you're sitting in a meeting and you can just feel it instead of picking or pulling. Textured fabric also. Knitting and crochet, it's a really good thing to do to keep your hands busy. Maybe while you're sitting watching TV, if you're on a long phone call. So these are all really good tools that you can use that are all considered competing responses. And now I want to practice a few with you live here now on Zoom. All right, so let's first start with something called the finger tapping sequence. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by having your hands up and you're going to touch your your thumb to your index finger, then your middle finger, then your ring finger, then your pinky, and then back. Pinky, ring, middle, index. All right, so try it with me now. Index, middle, ring, pinky, pinky, ring, middle, index, index, middle, ring, pinky, pinky, ring, middle, index. So now speed it up. Index, ring, index. And you don't have to hold your hands up. You can have them down, just holding them up so you can see. You can do them all together. All right. So this is a really good competing response to do because it keeps your hands busy. It's something that you can do with your fingers to have them moving in a very controlled manner, something rhythmic, and it could be calming. It's a great alternative to do maybe while you're watching TV, while you're on a long phone call. That's just something that you can do, kind of have just a very simple technique. All right, let's try another one together. So this is another very simple technique, fist clench and hold. So let's try it together. So you're going to hold your hands out in front of you. Make a tight fist with your hand. Pretend you're holding something really valuable and small. Squeeze. We'll do it for 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now release. Shake your hands out a little bit. And again, you don't have to hold your hands out. You can do it down by your side, but the goal is really to hold your hands in a fist. So let's do it again. Hold your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. Squeeze. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, now release. Shake them out. Now notice if you feel any change in sensation or change in tension in your hands. Just notice that. Okay. So again, this is a really good technique because it uses the same muscle groups as you would for picking or for pulling, but again, in a non-harmful way. And also, it's really something that you can do discreetly. You can do it under your desk. You can do it while you're working. So it's very discreet, very accessible. All right. Let's practice one more competing response before we move on to sensory substitutions. Okay, so fingertip press into your thighs. So what you do, it's really as it said. So you take your hands, you put them onto your lap, right where they rest, and you're gonna press not too hard, but hard enough that you feel pressure. And we're gonna create steady pressure together, and you're gonna hold that for about 10 to 15 seconds, okay? So I'll count us in together. So ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now let go. Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now let go. Okay, so again, this is a really good technique, competing response technique, because it's subtle. It's also grounding, right? Because your hands, you're making contact with your body. It helps activate body awareness. So again, it's something that you can do if you're sitting in a meeting, sitting on the bus. This is also a really good one if you're lying in bed and you feel the urge. You can just press into your thighs, um, and it can be done even longer. You don't need to do it for 10 seconds, but really trying to ride out the wave of the urge. All right, so now let's talk about sensory substitution. So these are really tools or actions that give your body the sensory feedback that you might be craving in a safer or in a more controlled way. All right, so let's think about why sensory substitutions can really be helpful. So research shows that people with BFRBs often experience differences in how their brain processes sensory information. So that can happen in different ways. So it could be an increased sensitivity, so more sensitive to certain textures, to different irregularities. Think about feeling a bump on your skin or a different out of place hair that you might feel, bodily sensations. And then this heightened awareness can actually lead to increased urges to pick or to pull. And that could be like maybe as a way to fix the sensation. Or also, it could be as a way of sensory avoidance. So some people engage in the picking or the pulling in order to avoid feeling a certain sensation and uncomfortable, maybe sensory input. And also maybe because their nervous system is trying to get them to get back into a regulation after feeling something that is uncomfortable in a sensory manner. So these sensory substitutions are there to help us meet these sensory needs in a more safer and more controlled manner. And it could be done through texture, through pressure, through temperature. And you just really want to do it and meet these needs in a different way that's not damaging to yourself or to your body. And again, emphasizing the fact that you need to experiment to find what works best for you. There's such a wide range of sensory needs. So it's really important to figure out what works best for you. And then once you figure it out, practice, practice, practice. So these are some common sensory substitutions, some common tools that you can use. So rubbing textured fabric, so things like corduroy, velvet, using like a scrubby pad, like they use for dishes. These are really great. They can satisfy like the need to feel something under your fingertips, like the picture I have here, playing with putty or slime. Some people prefer a sticky texture. Some people prefer a smoother texture. These are things that you need to test out and see what feels right for your body. You can gently brush your skin. Again, you need to do this in a very non-harmful way. So maybe take a soft toothbrush, and instead of picking or pulling, you could brush over your skin with a very soft toothbrush, but gently being the the operative word here. Um, you can use maybe an exfoliating pad that can really maybe mimic this tactile stimulation that you want to feel, but without harming yourself. And then temperature also is a really great way to experiment and to fulfill some sensory needs. So holding onto something cold. Now, I don't recommend personally holding onto ice cube kind of raw. I would recommend wrapping it in a cloth and a towel. You can hold on to that. Or a really great way is to take a spoon and to put it in the fridge and then kind of chill a spoon, and then you can hold on to that. That's also a really great way. This kind of create something that can be as a sensory reset to your body to help, kind of help break your cycle. Oh, and I wanted to share a nice example that I heard of in terms of sensory stimulation is of a client that find that getting ready in the morning, looking in the mirror, putting on makeup, that was a very triggering time for picking. Can be for pulling as well. And so having clients reported that rubbing their fingers over makeup brushes. That was a really, really good sensory stimulation and something that kind of satisfied that urge instead of picking. And that's something very easy to do in the morning while you're getting ready. So let's practice together. So let's take a moment now to find something that's near you, could be on you. It could be your clothing, it could be your chair. If you're sitting on the couch, maybe like a nice padded, a nice fabric. I'm going to use my necklace. That's actually a really good, if you're wearing a necklace also. Um, just something that you can feel with your fingertips. And we're going to do it together. I want you to gently rub your fingers over that surface. Start feeling it. Rub it between your fingers if you want. Now pay close attention to the texture. Is it rough? Is it smooth? Is it soft? Is it bumpy? Notice the sensations between your fingertips. Notice the friction. Notice the warmth. Is there any contrast in the texture? Okay, now stop. Now see how your fingers feel. Just notice. And now I want to switch to rubbing your thumb, very simple, onto your fingertips, like in the image. Just a slow, intentional motion. Again, feel the friction, feel the warmth. Okay, now stop. So again, these are really simple techniques that can really satisfy a sensory urge that you have. Again, it's accessible. You can do it anywhere, anytime. It doesn't have to be the one item that you just chose. It can be something around you. It can be feeling what you have, feeling what you're sitting on, what if you're wearing jeans. And again, it's really subtle. It's something that you can do anywhere in many, many different situations. So it's good for real world use. All right, so now let's move on to body-based grounding. So these are techniques that use the body to regulate the nervous system. So really, these are especially helpful when urges are caused by an emotional wave, things like anxiety, stress, boredom. So let's jump into some of these now. So, like I said, anxiety and stress are often triggers to your urges. Typically, urges don't show up out of nowhere, very often connected to emotions. And when we feel anxious or stressed, it's your body shifts into the sympathetic nervous system. And that really is known as the fight or flight response that you might have heard of. And what happens there is that your heart begins to race, your muscles tense up, your blood starts pumping faster, and your body really is preparing to take action. And the thing is, when people have BFRBs, sometimes that action is picking or pulling. And so that picking or pulling is really there to kind of release the tension that's happening because you're in this fight or flight mode. So really a body-based grounding technique is there to help interrupt this cycle. And it's kind of to signal that you're to yourself that you're in a safe space, and to signal to your nervous system that you can actually shift into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the kind of rest and digest mode. And so really it'll help regulate your body, lower the state of tension, lower the state of activation, really make it easier to just sit and then hopefully let the urge wave ride out and subside without needing to act on it. So let's practice some together now. So maybe that you can even feel the shift between the sympathetic to the parasympathetic system. Okay, so let's start with this first one that is actually it's called the butterfly hug, and it's actually often used in trauma therapy. It really helps bring about a sense of grounding, of calming, helps bring you into the body, and it's using a technique called bilateral stimulation. Really, all that means is gentle alternating movements on both sides of the body. Okay, so let's first I'll explain it and then we'll try it together. So you're gonna, it's really like the image, you're gonna hold your hands, cross your arms over your chest, like you're giving yourself a hug. Let your fingertips rest below your collarbones with your palms against your chest. And your fingertips are pointed towards your shoulders. And then you're gonna gently start tapping on each side, one at a time, left, right, just like a butterfly flapping its wings, butterfly hug. And then you keep tapping slowly and rhythmically. Okay, so we're going to try it together now. And if you feel comfortable, I want you to close your eyes. And if you don't feel comfortable, I want you to soften your gaze. So let's cross your arms over your chest. Give yourself a hug, your fingertips pointing upwards, below your collarbones. And just start gently tapping one side at a time. Left, right, left, right. Breathe slowly. Inhale through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. Keep tapping. Inhale through your nose. Out through your mouth. Inhale through your nose. And out through your mouth. Okay, now everybody can stop. So now just check in with your body. See how it feels. So really this is a great grounding technique. You can use this anytime if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling disconnected from your body. It's really simple, it's subtle, really helps you bring yourself back into your body. Okay, now let's try something called feet awareness. So you don't need to stand up for this one. You can do it sitting down. So again, this is something that really helps bring you back into the present moment. So let's do it all together now. So place your feet flat on the floor. Again, if you want, feel comfortable, close your eyes. If less so, just soften your gaze. So take a moment, notice how your feet are resting. Are they relaxed? Are they tense? Is there a part of your foot touching the floor more? Your heels, your toes? Now I want you to gently press your toes more into the floor. Hold it for a few seconds. Now release. Now gently press your heels down more into the floor. Hold a little more. Now release. Now just feel the contact points between your feet and the ground. Now I want you to shift your weight from side to side. To move your whole body, just side to side. Notice how the pressure changes between each foot as you're moving. Feel the floor supporting you. Now stop. Now I want you to wiggle your toes, either inside your shoes or against the floor. Notice the sensations that you feel, the texture, the temperature, the pressure between the toes. Now just pause and breathe. As you breathe, as you inhale, imagine your breath traveling down through your body to your feet. And as you exhale, imagine all the tension leaving your feet into the ground. Okay, now we can stop. So this is a great technique. Again, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling anxious, disconnected, you don't have to go through the steps exactly how I did, but just kind of gently rocking, gently wiggling, being mindful of your feet, and then ending with that nice breathing and imagining all the tension leaving through your feet. So this is something really great to do if you're feeling overwhelmed. All right, let's practice one more technique together. So this is called anchor breathing. And again, it's really good for emotion regulation. So we're gonna position our hands like in the picture, one hand on your chest, one hand on your belly. And really this is based on diaphragmatic breathing. So we're gonna wanna always be doing deep breaths into our belly. And here with this, we're gonna want our belly to rise more than our chest. So you're gonna feel it with your hands. You're gonna feel the hand on your belly rise more than your chest. And also a really important note is that we always want to have longer exhales than our inhales. That's something that really helps us shift into the parasympathetic nervous system, like we said before. So let's do this, work on this one together now. So you're gonna sit comfortably, sit back if you want to, sit up. One hand on your chest, one hand on your belly. Feel the contact between your hands onto your body. And you're going to inhale slowly through your nose. Try to direct your breath down to your belly. Feel your hand rising on your belly more than on your chest. And then exhale gently through your mouth. Feel both hands lower. And we're going to do this together a few times. Inhale through your mouth, nose. Feel your belly rise. Exhale through your mouth. Feel both hands fall. Inhale, feel your belly rise. Exhale, feel both hands fall. Inhale, feel your belly rise. Exhale, feel both hands fall. Inhale, feel your hand on your belly rise. Exhale, feel both hands fall. Okay, so you're going to want to repeat this maybe 5 times. And again, you're going to be doing this slowly with awareness. And if, like I said, it's important to try and make the exhale longer than your inhale. So if you're wanting to count, you can do a count of say 4 for your inhale and 6 for your exhale. Like 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like that. That kind of helps maybe if you're feeling anxious, to maybe keep that. And again, this is a really good technique to help bring you back into your body, help make you feel present if your mind is racing, if it's triggering an urge. It can really reduce reactivity, kind of bring you back into this and reduce that automatic jump between the urge to the picking or pulling behavior. So this is something good that you can do to interrupt. All right, so now I want to just have us all put this all together. So think to yourself, or you can write into the chat, which strategies felt natural for you, which ones felt doable, what stood out for you. Was there something that surprised you, something that you thought wouldn't be helpful that actually was? And something that I like to think about is try to mentally map out kind of a typical urge window. So something in your day that you know that is more typically have urges to pick or to pull arise, and then try and think what you could use maybe as a pre-urge, as a prevention. Could it be having the stress ball? Could it be the finger tapping technique? Could it be, and then what could you use during an urge? Something as a direct alternative. Could it be, okay, I know this one is a very good one for me, having the breathing technique, the anchor breathing. And then post urge, maybe for calming or for recovery, maybe it's the butterfly hug, something very simple for calm, for recovery. And again, maybe a combination is good. So again, think about, you can write in the chat and we can share about them after in our Q&A. And so again, we're building your toolkit. So I want you to think about maybe a challenge for the week is to pick two, maybe three tools that really stood out to you that you want to try and implement them in your real life. And so if you're going to do that, something that you really want to do is to keep your items visible and accessible. You want to have them ready. Take the stress ball, put it next to your computer. Um, have your brush ready if you want to have it next to your bed, your soft toothbrush. And again, track what works and what doesn't. So like I said, again, in our program in Skin Pick and Trick Stop, we have tools that help you track what's working, what's not, and then your therapist helps you comment and fine tune it. But you can also do this yourself if you're not working with a therapist. So say for a few days, work on one technique, and notice maybe it works better in the morning, maybe it works better right before bed. Fine tune it. And then again, this toolkit is yours. So you get to build it, you get to adjust it as needed. And I have this little BFRB first aid kit here because I heard of a really cool technique is to, some people actually make like a little pouch of things, of a stress ball, of a soft brush, of silly putty, and then you can take it with you, throw it in your backpack, throw it in your purse, and then you have it at the ready. Kind of like, remember the umbrella metaphor. So to have it all kind of ready with at the before you actually have the urge arise. So just a few things before we wrap up. I really, really want to emphasize the fact that urges, it's nobody's fault. It's not your fault. They're responses that you have conditioned again and again over time because of that reinforcement of that relief. They're developed over time. And what matters is now what you're going to do with them. And you're already taking the first step. You're already coming here to learn some new techniques that you can do instead of. Something also that's important is that you don't have to manage your picking or your pulling alone. Support is very, very important, whether or not you join a program and work with a therapist here at Skin Pick or Trick Stop, or if you're working with your therapist on your own, or join a community, join a support group. That's also very, very important. Community is very important for dealing with BFRBs. And again, experimenting is very, this is the first step for this. Today, that's what today was all about, experimenting different strategies. You're not going to find your perfect strategy overnight. So this is a really good first important step. And again, we want to practice, practice, practice. And really the goal is progress. It's not for perfection. Again, sometimes we're going to fall into the loop and we're going to pick and pull, and that's okay. We're just going to try and emphasize and practice this other alternative path, and then teach our brains that we can do something else and to make this a little bit more flexible in the loop. So just a reminder about free resources that we have. So we always have webinars, we have content webinars, workshops, community-based webinars. We have online forums and blogs at skinpickandtrickstop.com. Lots and lots of articles, lots of research written by some of our therapists also. really good resources. And also on social media, we have really great community for skin picking and for hair pulling. You can follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok. Check out our YouTube channel. This webinar and all of our other webinars are also uploaded onto there. And I just wanted to remind, I should have said this at the beginning, but we have a $100 discount for the first month of registration for our program if you use the promo code PROWEB100. And you can, if you have any direct questions or comments for me, you can email me at my@helpingminds.com. But otherwise, our customer support for more technical questions, they're right up here, support@skinpickertrickstop.com. And then I'm opening the floor. We have some questions already written into the chat, but I'd love to hear from you about some reflections. If you have any personal questions about the tools that we talked about, was there something that really resonated with you, something that really didn't? Is there something that you are taking away from today? So feel free to write it now into the chat, or maybe even just take a quiet moment and reflect by yourself. But regardless, I want to say thank you for joining us today and really taking the first step. This is a really great step for growth. Okay, so let's get into the chat. Okay. Um, okay, somebody is writing about, okay, picking. I'm gonna read it. It's anonymous, so I'll say, I've been picking my thumbs for more than 35 years. I've noticed getting acrylic nails helps a lot, but it's quite expensive and harmful for my nail beds and the UV light use. I just found Glam Drip, maybe, which is supposed to be a dip nail system that's non-toxic and easy to do at home. Have you heard any feedback about this type of system from people with dermatillomania? Thanks for all your techniques. That's actually a really good point. Having acrylic nails or maybe the dip. I am aware of these dip nail techniques, but I've never tried them or had any clients with dermatillomania try them. But if you try it, let us know. I'd be curious to know how it works. Some nice comments. I'm happy that you enjoyed it. Someone said I pick most in the shower, so it's hard to imagine using these skills in the shower. I would think that actually the grounding techniques could be really good. So I can imagine in the shower, if you have the urge to pick, all of a sudden, okay, I'm going to do this. And maybe also feeling the water. A lot of this is tying the grounding techniques is also tying in mindfulness. So feeling the sensations and think about temperature also. So maybe feeling the temperature of the water, smells, acting all of your senses and doing that instead of falling into the picking loop. Somebody asked about, do you have any articles or resources on pulling and eating hair? I don't have any on hand. If you want to email me, I can definitely look into that for you. I know that is a common um, thing that often can follow pulling. But I don't have any resources automatically. But I would think that in terms of these tools, if that's part of the urge, right? If that's just kind of a secondary act that is attached. So if we think back to the loop, I can bring up the loop again if everybody has. Web here. Okay, so if we have this loop again, if that's just an additional behavior, we're still wanting to break this between the urge and the behavior step, right? So I would think that you could still use these tools the same way. Somebody also asked about fake nails. So what are your thoughts on things that help block you from picking and pulling? So things that you're doing to your to blocking is also very helpful. Things that you can do, um, we typically call that stimulus control to shift your surroundings, your environment. So definitely, if fake nails are something that help you, very, very pro. Um, some great feedback. Um, and yeah, definitely about feeling alone. It is very important, I think, also to come to these webinars because it definitely helps build the sense of community and makes you feel like you're not alone. Somebody was talking about caffeine and if wondering if it increases the urge to pick. Caffeine is a very individual one. I'm not sure about any research into that. But I know that caffeine, for example, for some people with ADHD, it can help, for example, there reduce some feelings of reactivity. So maybe it could um, for picking and pulling, but I think it's a very um, individually based. So I'm not aware of any research on that actually. Somebody's asking about, I'm not sure as to what my trigger is. I think it's boredom, but sometimes it can be other things such as stress. Any advice to try to pinpoint what they are? Yes, definitely. The first thing to start with in terms of trying to pinpoint your trigger is self-monitoring. So trying to monitor, I would try and do it throughout the day. Try to keep a log. So in our program, we actually also have a tool that is a self-monitoring tool that helps you log when you have the urge, if you actually engage in the behavior, where you are, what you're feeling. So definitely try and track, maybe write down in your phone if you don't have or keep a journal and to track where you are, what you're feeling, what the context is, thoughts, emotions, write down as many details as you can um, of what's happening before, during, and after the urge also. And to try to do this for a few days and do it throughout the day. So that's definitely my advice on pinpointing urges. Um, Someone is asking about the sensation to pull on my hair, but also chewing on the root. Is this an eating disorder too? Um, from what I understand from this one sentence, it doesn't sound like an eating disorder. It typically that like the chewing of the hair is also something that is a behavior, like I said before, that can sometimes go with the hair pulling. Um, so again, like I said, using any of these tools to kind of break the step between the urge and the behavior, that can also prevent the um, eating of the hair part also. Someone saying I have really bad eczema, so I do this thing where I just look at my hands with a light, and when I see blisters, I just want to pop them because I think I have a weird phobia. I have slime, but sometimes it's just so hard to not look at my hands. Um, that sounds really tough, really, really difficult. Um, I think first of all, yeah, using slime, that's great that you're already using one of these competing responses. That's really great. Something that maybe some people are saying here also is, and that's a very good technique also, is to use stimulus control things to try to limit the amount of triggers that you have. So if you know that looking at your hands is something really difficult, and if you're going to be doing something that you're going to be looking at it, maybe try to wear gloves, maybe try to cover the areas. Um, that's something that you can also do to try to limit the trigger. Some great feedback. Thank you for the comments. Um, what is your channel on YouTube? If you look up Skin Pick or Trick Stop, that's our channel. Here I can show you. Oh, I don't have the channels, but Trick Stop or Skin Pick if you look them up. That's our channel. Um, okay, we have some time for a couple more questions. I pull my hair most when driving, especially long commutes. Which technique do you think would work best for this? That's a very good question. So I guess it depends on what your trigger specifically is. So if it's a feeling of sensation, so maybe while you're driving, maybe to feel the wheel, if you could do one-handed, maybe to feel a necklace or a scarf or your shirt lapel or something that you're wearing. So that could be a stimulus sensory substitution. You could do again the finger tapping, but just with one hand. I mean, again, 10 and 2 important, but if you're already pulling, so you're gonna have one hand off. But yeah, definitely to do something to keep the other hand busy. And like we've also said, is the stimulus control. So maybe if it's pulling the hair on your head, maybe trying a different hairdo, wearing your hair in a ponytail, wearing a hat, things that are going to kind of limit and maybe block it. And in addition to having one of or two of these techniques. Um, so I would ask you yourself to to see what works best for you. Um, can you suggest a great stress ball and material tape? I use microform tape, but it's not very thick. Um, I'm not sure of a specific stress ball. Um, I'm a very strong proponent of just whatever is available. I would go to the dollar store, get something if you can, very simple. Um, but again, try different sensations. Like there are like all of these you can find them at the dollar store also these squashies that might also be something that's the sensory could be fill a sensory need and tape material tape I would try different ones like medical tape or packing tape or masking tape I would definitely use different ones and see which one works best for you. Perfect. Someone says picky pads are great. That's a great, thanks for that. For that. Um, okay, so we don't have time for any more questions, but if you have any more, definitely email me and we can talk a little bit more. I'm going to stop the recording now. Thanks everyone for joining us.